Where did the idea for Australian Dads Network come from?
I'm over in Karratha in the Pilbara, the northwest coast of Australia. And when we had our first boy back in 2014, I realised that there wasn't much support in the town for dads, new dads in particular. There was a lot of FIFO transiency sort of people at that time, so highly male dominated. But unfortunately, the services there weren't really as prominent, I suppose, as they are today. And the issue with that was, sort of fast track a couple of years. I was struggling to, I suppose, just connect with guys at that level. We had some mates that were around that either didn't have kids or had kids down in Perth or something, and they were FIFO. So it was just trying to find that connections. Looked around, there wasn't anything in Karratha that was for dads. So I just started our own little Facebook group and basically just tried to use that as an opportunity to connect guys as they come into Karratha, let them know what's available, but also just as an opportunity for me to organise a coffee catch up or go out for a fish or something like that. So it started off pretty small, just getting a few guys together, and just the need was there, so it started to grow and grow. And then if you fast track to where we are now, we had a lot of guys who were leaving town who wanted to still remain connected, but eventually we changed it from what was called the Pilbara Dads Network to the Australian Dads Network. So we're
Think
now
bigger.
think bigger, exactly, and being able to support. Now we're able to support guys across the country, and it is although some of the things that we talk about, and we might get into this a bit later, but some of the things that we talk about basically give us have changed over the years. We've included a few other topics from guys' experience into our conversations. However, the whole idea of creating connection within the community is the main focus and driver behind what we do.
Brilliant, mate. In your experience, what do dads need support with? What did you need support with, and what do you notice a lot from others?
For me, it was the basics. I'm originally from the western suburbs of Melbourne, and my wife's from Canada, and not having that connection to family close by to be able to sort of help and support along the journey, especially those first few years with kids. It's a juggle. There's lots of things happening. You still got to go to work. You still got to come home and put your best foot forward. And being able to speak to guys who are going through it or have been through it and get that feedback and advice and support is crucial, I think. And that's where I needed that support. Some of the other conversations that we have in the group range from everything from mental health through to emotional health, through to physical health, all the way to family law, even what's the best nappy to get my kids through the night. So it covers everything from dads, but also personal situations, which can be deep and challenging to confront at times, but it's necessary. And I think the more, we're not the only group that's doing this. There's so many out there, and it's really important, and it's growing, which is great. Guys are opening up to the opportunity to connect with guys, utilizing Facebook as a platform to give guys that opportunity who are ready to discuss some of the harder topics in their life. However, may not be ready to go down to the coffee shop or whatever and talk about that to somebody. So it gives guys an opportunity over time to sort of pull down that mask and pull down that shield, so that in time they can connect with the guys locally.
Yeah, so it's a lot less intimidating having the screen there initially and then bridge into in-person meetings.
So we have some guys who come in and are very confident and are willing to share openly very early on. But we have, so we've got about just clicked over 2,300 members in our Dads Only Facebook group. Of those, there's anywhere from 1,800 to 1,900 engaged members in the community. So guys who are reviewing posts, looking at the videos, reacting or commenting on the posts or creating their own ones. So that's quite significant. And what we've found is that there's a number of guys who do sit in the background for some time until they feel really confident that this group is going to be able to support them and that the group is not going to judge them. That's really important. So guys will say, they'll put a post out and they'll say, look, I've been watching and I've been following along for a year or two, and basically now I'm ready. I'm ready to communicate. And what we do is we have a bunch of guys that are in every state and territory across the country, and we can connect those guys when they're ready to those people in those communities. And it's not necessarily as well Australian Dads Network events that we push these guys to when they're ready. It's other groups that are doing really cool things at that time that we can say, hey, go and check these guys out. They're in your local area. They're doing good stuff too. So
How do you approach working with men? What do you have to be conscious of?
it depends on the person. I think if the individual is already working on some of themselves, that makes it a bit easier. Some guys that we've worked with in the past, they're just getting into it, like we mentioned before. They're just looking at, I'm just trying to get through today. There's a comfort level there for guys to be able to talk, and so I use that just as an opportunity. A lot of things I say is, you can come and speak to my wax-filled ear as much as you want. And that's some of the time is all that's needed, especially in those early days. Just giving guys that comfort that there's someone there, someone's listening, and that's where we spend a lot of our time.
Is there the potential there for that to get a bit overwhelming for you if you're having so many people messaging in or looking for guidance and advice? Obviously, you're running your own life and you got 2 kids yourself and you got plenty to worry about. Can that get to be a bit much? And do you guys refer to services where you need to?
Yeah, definitely. We refer to services as much as we can, depending on the circumstance. We've had guys that have reached out that are in, one guy said it, he hit rock bottom, and that's when he picked up the shovel. So there's guys that are really in terrible situations for a variety of reasons. Very early on, and even up until sort of later part of last year, early part of this year, I wanted to help everybody and get involved in everybody's situation to try and help. Guys are screaming out and reaching out for that help. And there was definitely times where I felt burnt out with my own family situation, coming into their house and making sure that I'm not bringing any of that stress or struggle to home, and that's challenging as well. There was definitely numerous times where I've gone and had to just stop and just say, look, we need to refer you to somebody else. There's guys that have shared some of their deepest, darkest stuff with myself, and I've now got a process that I can use to deal with that and manage that myself and still be able to support. But as far as referring, 100%. So, we can connect guys in their local area as much as possible. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's got to be the local hospital, depending on where they are. Regional towns, it's a struggle to get some of the services that are needed for men's mental health. So sometimes it's the local health services that are there.
And for anyone running a men's health project or looking to run a men's health project, it's really important that you're conscious of how to look after yourself along the way, because it is a big thing to take on. And I run one myself, you guys run one. It means so much to us to want to help everyone, help other people as much as we can. But if we don't look after ourselves along the way, I think burnout is a real possibility and something that you really have to think about how much you can actually realistically take on, where you can offload to other people. And if you want longevity, then you have to make sure that it's a long game where you're going to be able to stay in it and stay motivated and not get bitter or burnt out.
Agree, 100%. We've got a really strong committee, and they've been that sort of rock. That's critical for me now, being able to reach out to those guys after some situations. And agree. We're not in this just for the next year or two. We're in this for the long haul, and then longevity is a word that I used to speaking about the Australian Dads Network only a few days ago. So 100% agree. It's in order for us to make change, not just the Australian Dads Network, but men's mental health and men's health in general, is having groups and organisations that are getting that support internally to be able to remain focused on their goals, but also the longevity for Australian men's mental health. We need more organisations and we need more support to be able to make sure that these aren't just one-off groups that just can't continue. So agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. What have you seen really work for the guys that you support and make a real difference to them?
The big thing for me is connection. So I think the struggle with a lot of guys that I've sort of spoken to anyway is not feeling like they're confident enough to be able to connect. and share and be open. That's changing rapidly, I believe. But one of the things that I really like to push is that creating connections will create a stronger community. So it's not just focusing on our mate or the dad or whoever it might be. It's having that bigger picture. If we can support the dads inside of our community to create connections, then that's not only going to just help those guys in their immediate circle, but it's also going to help their family. It's also going to help the community. So that's the big one for me, just having really strong connections within the community.
How do you guys go about reaching more men? Is it word of mouth? Do you run campaigns? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, so organic word of mouth basically at this stage. We've got our public Facebook page that anyone can join or anyone can like and follow along. But it's one of those things that I create posts and do things as I get the time. But my focus is primarily I spend more time in the group itself, the private dads only group. So it's strange how Facebook works and is able to connect people to our group. I get guys, part of the questions when they enter the group is how did you find out about us? And they come from the most random places. A group that I was involved with, 5 years ago. Some guys have said, I'm part of that Rust to Riches group or whatever it might be. So it's strange how Facebook works, but it's good because the more, I suppose, the more active the group is, the more Facebook believes that it should be shared around in their algorithms. So it's a good sign. We're getting a lot of members that are coming through from unique sources, and it's great. But also with that too, we have a lot of guys who refer other mates to the group. So we have quite a number of guys who are invited to the group, which is positive as well.
Is that the only platform you use, Facebook? Because that's where the dads are, or what's your thinking around that?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, we've tried a few different platforms. We've tried Instagram, we've tried TikTok, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm trying
and
TikTok. Got to get to the kids somehow.
I know, and it's about trial and error, I suppose, and trying to find where our demographic is. So the main sort of age bracket for us is obviously it's dads, and then the age bracket is 30 to 54. So when we think of platforms, Facebook is the most common, the most trusted for that sort of age group as well, and it's easy to use. So TikTok and all those other ones, Snapchat, they're fun, I suppose, on the side. But at this stage, we're there to support the community that we have. Maybe in time we'll have someone come through in the committee or in the ops group or something that is young enough to be able to manage those, and we can palm that off to them and go for it.
Showing your age, mate. Stick to what you know. What have you found most challenging about making all this happen and keeping it all going?
I think, there's been a number of times where I've gone to push the delete button on the group over the years, not so much in the last sort of year to 18 months, but prior to that, because of the challenges, I suppose, with doing it myself and that pressure and, potentially that feeling of burnout as well. So
why didn't you hit the button?
It could be that day that I was going to push the button that someone reaches out in a message or someone posts something in the group that said, I love being in this group, it's saved my life. Or from the conversations that I've had inside the group, I've now been able to get custody of my kids. It gives me goosebumps now just talking about it. It's critical just to be able to give that platform for the guys to be able to go through their own life and their own journey and support them through that. It feels great every time, and I'm extremely grateful for the fact that we have a community of now 2,300 guys that are willing to share their experiences, that are willing to support other guys. And I say it all the time, I push the button to start the group. I'm glad that I never pushed the button to stop the group, but it's all the guys in the community that are making the conversations and making things happen. So that's sort of where I sit, and I'm just a conscious observer most of the time and following along and learning as I go, which is all part of the journey.
You're a bloody legend. And those times where you did want to give it away, what practical things did you put in place to try and give yourself a bit of space or change it up a bit or ensure that you were able to practically keep it going? And then what did you notice in terms of how much better it's gotten? And I suppose for people who might be at one of those sticking points, which is common when you're trying to get a project off the ground or keep it going, what would you say about having the fortitude to push past those real tough times and what can be on the other side of it?
Well, the way I feel it anyway now is being through that sort of those waves is having a support network that understands what is happening. So now we've got a really strong committee. You know, we've got guys that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in the committee. So massive range of experience levels and also in their personal and professional lives, they've got so much experience to share to me to manage my emotions, but also the group as well. So having that support network that understands what we're doing. So that's, I suppose, the big thing for anyone that's organising a group or an organisation that is at that point where they're like, "Oh, what am I doing this for? You know, I could be spending my time with family or doing something else and struggling with the balance of this." Find a crew that you can debrief with and support you through that. And the big one is that vision, is that goal. What is it that you're trying to achieve? And I don't think there's any shame in saying, you know, maybe I don't know what that is yet. And I need to dive deeper into what I'm doing, or maybe I need to tweak it or change it some way. You know, that vision and goal can change as well. So I think it's about just making sure that you've got the energy and the passion for what that end vision is or that goal is to be able to drive it no matter what the circumstances are. Have that support network around you, external to the group if necessary, to be able to debrief with, especially during some of those hard times. Like, you know, and you might need. I took like 2 weeks out of the group only just a month ago, just to reconnect and with myself and family and just have some time away, and that brings back some of that energy as well. So those things I think are all really important. And if those things happen, obviously, you know, if you've got I've got a really supportive partner, and she's always in any opportunity like this, the chaos of the mornings before school, any opportunity that I get to talk about the Australian Dads Network, she's there supporting me behind it as well. So it's really critical. And so with all those things, I think, you know, if you come to it and you're at that struggle and you're at that point where you're thinking, what's this for? Make sure that those things are in your corner, and no doubt you'll just be able to push through with passion and purpose, and know that at the end of the day you're supporting your community. That's massive.
That's terrific advice. What do you know now that you wish you knew at the start?
Oh, that's a good question. To reach out for that support, I think. You know, I spent probably 3.5 years just doing it by myself, you know, not feeling that I wanted to burden people with responsibility, especially, you know, with the committee and stuff. You know, I'll just do that, and I'll take that action, I'll do that. Understanding, I suppose, that other people have that same level, if not more, passion for the Australian Dads Network than what I do, and are willing to put their time and volunteer their time into what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve.
3.5 years is a long time to mull that over and feel alone with this. Were you shocked by how willing others were to actually help you once you asked?
Yeah, definitely. And I still feel that way. You know, I've received a few messages this morning from some of our committee members who are working on some merchandise and stuff. And, you know, they're up at, you know, stupid o'clock in the morning doing this thing. And I'm just going, it's just amazing. And I mean, the immense gratitude that I have for the guys that are willing to even just put the Australian Dads Network logo on their personal profile. Guys that I've never even spoken to. Just that significance, you know, just it might seem small to them, but for me, it's massive, and it just shows the strength of our community and the passion that these guys have to support each other. And yeah, I mean, if I had 3-4 years ago had have been able to reach out and get guys to you know, to get on board and to give them that opportunity to use their passion and energy to support what we're doing, who knows where we would be now. But would I change it now? Not at all. It's all been a journey for me as well. I've grown so much over the last few years. yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world.
And how's it changed other people's lives?
I mean, it saved lives. That's a massive one. We know there's been a few guys who are alive today, and they've basically based it off of our community, which is massive. You know, if we can continue to create this opportunity for guys to connect and share, that's hopefully gets to the point where, or before the point where they feel like that's, they've got no other options.
And what is the goal? Do you know? Has it changed?
Yeah, it has changed. I mean, originally it was just that connection and being able to support. The vision is to just to make things a lot more local. So, we've got basically the 2,300 members in the group. We want to take that local. We want to grow that local and collaborate too. You know, it's not just about us, and we want to be able to support other local groups. It's an evolving process driven by the members in our community. Lots of things to come, that's for sure.
Oh, incredible work, mate. I love to see how it pumps you up, and obviously it means so much to a lot of other people you know, and you had such a massive part in making that happen. So pat yourself on the back for not hitting that button, because that was definitely the right call.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate that.